Hey everyone, welcome to the new developer interview. I'm the new community manager, Max, and today we are interviewing Oblivion.
Yeah, hey, I'm Oblivion. You can call me Bliv for short. I'm a game developer, I'm a programmer, scripter, all around, just do plenty of things. For a short intro, if you want, actually, I learned programming 15 years ago. Started on actually the Warcraft 3 world editor, which had sort of their own visual scripting system built in there that they use to build the campaign and to build with maps with them. So shout out to everyone who is Warcraft team map builders. I love you all. And yeah, that's about it about me.
Yeah, and then I guess for background for me, because I'm the new guy, I've been a game developer also since I was like 14, and I graduated Kent State University. I was a computer design and animation degree, and I found Sanctuary, and I applied to be the Kickstarter manager after I was looking for some jobs. I didn't get that, but then an opening for this community manager opened up, and I talked with Timevere and Tatsu and everybody, and they liked me enough, so they just accepted me on this role, and very glad to be here on the team.
Same
But
here.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's just jump into it.
Yeah, perfect.
So Bliv,
Yeah.
what do you do on Sanctuary?
So basically, I work on like mostly on the main engine stack. So actually, what I work on specifically is integrating like gameplay mechanics, gameplay systems. So I'm just piecing together, all the pieces necessary for the users to pick up the game and start playing around with the game pieces, and start experimenting with the systems and everything, and actually playing the game from beginning to end using all of the systems. So actually, it can be anything from really tiny tasks like just allowing units to take some damage or be destroyed when their health gets to zero. It can be like just special effects, things like that, and it goes all the way up to like entire systems, right? Like engineers, for example, who are, if you know from RTS, are like the constructor units, if you want, or builder units maybe. These are the guys, you control the sort of base build, construct all your different buildings and everything like that. And so it's a pretty complex system in itself. And so, everything in between basically.
Yeah,
I work really closely with other people on the team, so other programmers and scripters, and also with artists and technical artists. So sometimes part of the code I do is integrating actually stuff like special effects, sound effects, and other visual systems. And so yeah, it's really fun because it's a lot of different tasks and always a new challenge every day. So that's pretty much it.
yeah. I've done some games myself, and it's just you're basically doing everything a lot of the times when it comes to like
Yeah,
code, because you have to talk with the artist, and you're like, okay, how exactly does this need to be implemented and all that stuff. I can
right.
imagine for something of this scale too, it's a lot
Yeah.
of work.
Yeah, exactly. There's a bunch of challenges that come with this, and especially for a game at this scale, yeah. I think other people in previous interviews actually have gone into details about difficulties and challenges in multiple aspects of a game this scale for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
So actually, I can speak a bit more about what I'm working on right now as well. I can go into detail. So recently, some of the major systems I've been working on is, well, first of all, placement grid. So a lot of RTS players will know what a placement grid is because most classical RTS have them. If you look at StarCraft, even there is that, and in StarCraft, it's a very key aspect of the game because in that game there are very noticeable choke points and cliffs where you can build your buildings in certain patterns around that to block the cliffs and achieve certain behaviors with that. And in our case, it's very important as well because we have systems such as adjacency, where you want buildings to be sort of adjacent to each other so that they gain bonuses. And as well, you're just placing like thousands of buildings, right? So you
mhm.
want it to be quick, snappy, responsive, and like you,
Absolutely.
you don't want to be fiddling around with every single individual building and stuff like that. So I won't go in much more detail about that, but yeah, it's built with performance also at the forefront. forefront because, of course, I think Badam mentioned this last interview. We have huge maps, so we can support 40 by 40 kilometer maps with a huge amount of units and buildings. So of course it has to be quick and responsive. Another feature I've been working on is placement goals. It's very much interconnected. So these are what RTS players would know as, the building plans, basically. They have some sort of representation of the buildings that they haven't actually built yet or like spend the resources on, etc. It's just the plan. And so you can do a bunch of stuff with these, right? You can place them, move them around, copy and paste them, save templates. Yeah, just and a lot more stuff that I won't go into detail today, of course, but we're planning a lot of features and revolutionizing that aspect of RTS games for sure. And then a third feature, which I've been working on a lot more recently, is also tied in with all that, is unit orders and actually more specifically engineer orders. So around building, construction and interacting with the placement goals. And so these engineers are the ones who are actually, the units doing the work who go to the placement goals and turn it into an actual unit and spend the resources in it and everything like that. I won't go into much detail here. There's going to be more interviews, more, developer blogs around this stuff that I'll go into detail, but that's a general overview of what I do. I get into Lua scripting and other little tasks as well, as I mentioned, I like to think of myself as a jack of all trades, if you like.
Which you kind of need to be for, the kind of position like this,
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Taking on a task like this, it's for sure you have to be flexible, you have to be dynamic, you have to think on your toes, because there is always a new challenge every day, and it's never what you expect. There's going to be something that's going to happen somewhere that's going to change the course of action. So you always have to be thinking for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's just you have all these different systems too. It's like they all have to work together. You have so many units on screen at once. It all has to run well, and it has to control well, and it has to be fun. And so
for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. That's one of the most important values. Like there are many important values in here as fun, performance. And actually, you mentioned this, like the user control and everything. I talked about a bit on the last point, but on this point as well, we have a bunch of plans. Okay, we have just what I like to say are amazing thinkers here in the team, and we always bounce around ideas with each other and across all game systems, and specifically for orders and controlling units and base building, all that kind of stuff. We're going to be pushing, the boundaries of this genre. We're going to, people have a preconceived notion of how you control units in a large scale RTS or small scale RTS, and what you can do, what you can achieve, the user interface and stuff like that. And we're looking to innovate there because we think that there's a lot of space to innovate there, and that's part of my job as well, is working towards innovating and integrating new code.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty much it for that answer, I guess.
Yeah, no. Because I think there's a lot of people that, that especially people that aren't currently into RTS games that are just like, oh, you're just clicking on things,
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that there's a lot that can be done to really just have people see how engaging it can be.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, I agree.
So if we want to go on to a more general, let's see, what inspires you?
Okay, so, there are many things that inspire me, of course. But talking more specifically about games, I suppose. First of all, okay, just let me see. One of the things that inspire me is having this amazing team with us, right? We have just super amazing people, and I love working with them. I love getting up every day and thinking of the amazing interactions I'll have with them and the progress we're gonna make. So that's of course one of the big motivating factors. But where I take inspiration from is really many places. When I was in school, basically in high school a while ago, I took a sort of test. I really don't remember much about this, right? But it was this sort of like a personality test or preferences test or something, and I scored like even numbers across the board, right? And so ever since that day, I like to say that my quirk is I actually can't decide anything. Like everything is as tempting as me than everything else. So actually, a bunch of things inspire me. You know, anything from I love the physical games. So Warhammer,
Tabletop
one of
stuff.
them, yeah, one I like a lot is Magic the Gathering, which isn't exactly tabletop; it's a card game. But I
Yeah.
love, um, going in there and looking at the mechanics and the different cards, and even just the artworks on them are very inspiring. But so yeah, I take a lot of inspiration from there. Otherwise, I take inspiration from obviously many strategy games because I'm a big strategy game fan. So Supreme Commander would be a big one. I think this one will be mentioned a few times probably. FAF and Warcraft 3 is another big one. Of course, Warcraft 3 is like near and dear to my heart,
Hmm.
right? And I've experienced the mechanics and the gameplay of that game through and through like 10 times old. So I know everything about it, and I find there are very like meaningful and well designed mechanics in there that they are not. Most of them aren't applicable, unfortunately, to a game of Sanctuary scale, of course, because it's a completely different scope. It really doesn't translate all the time. But there are a lot of nice aspects that
They
take
find their way
inspiration
to
from there.
slip in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And but on the other end of the spectrum, um, I also like actually sort of weird, quirky Japanese games.
Hmm.
So anything from like big, RPGs like Persona or Final Fantasy to really weird games. So there's this guy called like Suda51, right?
Yes.
And he's
Yes.
okay. So you know
I
him,
know
right?
him.
And he's
Yeah.
No More Heroes,
Killer 7.
Killer 7, which I love so much. Okay, we're gonna have to get into a conversation about Killer 7, maybe for another interview sometime.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so because those guys, they really don't. They really are like, oh, maybe a weird term to use here, but innovative, or they. I don't want to sound rude, like they don't care, but they don't care. They really go in with their vision.
They,
They
it,
believe in it, and
it
it's
feels
really
like they don't
pure.
care about what the rules are when it comes to
Yeah,
games, and they're just
exactly.
willing to do whatever they want to put in a game. It's like, okay, we'll just put in like a 5-second mini game in this zombie
Definitely.
chainsaw thing, and we'll get James Gunn on this, for
Definitely,
like
yeah,
a
there's
lollipop chainsaw.
inspiration. Exactly. So, I take kind of even inspiration, right? Because I love those nice, classical, large-scale RTS. I know how they work.
Hmm.
I have so many thousands of hours on Supreme Commander, right? So, obviously, I take a lot of inspiration from there and take a lot of vision from there. That's for sure. But I also like I also take inspiration from those games we just previously mentioned because they remind you are not limited to what has been made before.
Hmm.
There is always space to innovate to make something new and interesting. So that's what I take from those usually,
It's
and they're
nice
also
to.
very.
Sorry, yeah. It's nice to
Go ahead.
like have that game that you've played for thousands of hours, and then just suddenly think, okay, but what if I just took a hammer to just this part and just did something
Right,
completely
exactly.
different?
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm with you for sure. So
And
that's pretty much for my inspiration. Sorry, long-winded answer, but yeah.
no, this is great. Yeah. I guess if we want to tailor off that, what's your favorite mechanic in a game? Like if we want to go like a specific mechanic,
Right. This one is going to be really difficult, probably.
it's hard to
Um,
choose.
yeah, it's definitely hard to choose. Okay, so I think I've chosen which mechanic I like the most. And it's actually not in a digital game, so it might sound weird, but it is the stack in Magic the Gathering.
The
So let
what?
me explain quickly. The stack. So STACK, the stack.
Okay.
Let me explain quickly what this is for people who don't play Magic the Gathering. So when you think of Magic the Gathering, right, you think, oh, simple card game. Like I play my card, you play your card, I play my card, you play your card, stuff like that, right? It's actually not that simple. When you play a card in Magic, right, it goes on the stack. and at this point, there's nothing on the stack. So once you play a second card, it goes on the stack on top of it, and so now it's like right on top of the card. And you play another one, it goes on the stack. It's like a stack of pancakes, right? That's why it's called stack. So then when you get at the end, people have stopped playing their cards for that moment. You now resolve the stack. But instead of going like what you would expect, right, from the bottom to the top, so the first card that you played to the last, actually going in the reverse order of the stack. So from the bottom for the latest card you played to the first one. So what's super interesting with that, right, is that people will play cards, and then people will respond with different cards that interact with the previous card, which wouldn't be possible if you went linearly just card by card, right? And so I'm not gonna go in depth here because this interview is gonna be 25 minutes. But there is so much complexity and depth and like choice and options when you're dealing with this stack, right? Because you can kind of retroactively go anywhere in it, mess with the stuff, fizzle stuff in it, and it's just a little like game moment in itself, right? And so that's a really deep and interesting mechanic to me.
It's like you can like almost look into the future, but
pretty much,
like just change little things, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like reactionary or something like that. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it, but totally. It's pretty much what
it's when you have all these mechanics just piled up on each other that like you get the one opportunity to just really have them laid out in like an order, I suppose. You know? Yeah,
totally. It's something I love it personally because it keeps you really thinking all the time. It sounds so simple. That's what I love of it, right? Is these mechanics are actually simple in a way. It's really simple. Like you put a pancake and the next pancake goes on top, and when you eat the pancakes, you eat the first one. Obviously, you don't go for the last pancake under. That would make sense. So it's really simple. That's all there is to it. But when you actually start playing the game of Magic, you can see the complexity and depth that emerges from that so simple mechanic, and that's what I love from it. And Sanctuary actually has a lot of these mechanics that were planned, inside, and they're simple, they are nice to use, but they allow such a depth and scope to the gameplay, which is something that really gets me for sure.
I think something that I like about games that have a lot of systems going on is when you get that perfect moment when you just have so many things that you have comboed together and they just cascade downwards.
Yeah.
I was watching, I think it was a video game Donkey video, where he described it as a fucklers combo. It's just, it's like when you go to, like, I don't know, like Pizza Hut and you've got a bunch of coupons. And you're like, oh, I'm going to combine it with this, and now it's free, like something like that, And it's amazing because you wouldn't expect it to transfer out of card games, but I've seen it in all sorts of 3D games, and you're right.
Exactly, right, totally, yeah. And I mean, I agree, that's something I love as well, right? Because what's fun about it is really a person can just come along and pick up the game and be able to play it, and they're like, oh, this is cool, and there's fun stuff to do. And then as they play more and more, become more experienced, they see that, oh my gosh, there is so many possibilities actually from these rules that I thought were actually simple. Now interacting with each other build up to such a vast scope of stuff that can happen. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's something. Yeah. That I agree with the philosophy sometimes, that less is more, right? And so you don't really want to just make a big, like, random soup of mechanics, right? That makes no sense and takes too long. Anyway, there's many issues with that. But you want a nice, like, mechanics, you want to keep it reductive, I guess, if is the term, I don't know. But have this like open-ended results, right?
Yeah.
This very depth and complex emergent stuff for sure.
Rather than having 80,000 different systems, you have a few systems that have a bunch of different ways that they can interact with each other. Yeah,
80,000 permutations.
Yeah.
Exactly. Totally. That's totally, yeah. that to me is a sign, of a well-designed system for sure.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for I think this was a mechanic question, right?
Yeah.
Every question we're going off and off. Sorry.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Do you want a more specific one about Sanctuary, or do you want one more general?
Let's go ahead with a sanctuary one. Maybe.
All right. Let's go with if you had 10 years of budget on Sanctuary, what would it look like?
Oh, okay, nice, yeah. So it would be something completely crazy, right? What I'm thinking, okay, we were talking about card games earlier, and now I'm thinking about Yu-Gi-Oh! You watch the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime, I assume, maybe one scene or two, you know about it?
I have a friend that's into it right now, actually.
Yeah,
So yeah.
Most people know about it, but right, they play those cards, and then there's these huge like holograms of monsters that pop up to show them, right? That's what I see for Sanctuary in 5-10 years, right? If I had 5-10 years to work on this, that's what it would look like. Basically, it would be like it would be in VR first of all, right? Like 5 years would have VR and large scale strategy games. So instead of manipulating everything with a mouse and keyboard, that's very clumsy or clumpersome. I don't know what the term is. You would actually like have direct vision, be able to turn your head to see different parts of the map, and use both of your hands. Actually,
You're like looking over the battlefield almost.
Exactly right, totally, and so that would be for the first step, right? 5 years maybe, let's say, but then in 10 years, actually, it's gonna be like this whole massive esport and stuff, right? And we're gonna have massive stadiums built with that house like 200K people, right? And they can just sit there and watch the whole like match unfold where every like unit and every map is projected within like in real time within this humongous
just like a
and so you have the experimentals or like what we would call actually super units. Maybe I'm making a reference to Subcom here about experimentals. Those would be like super units, right? Or yeah, right, super units, those late game humongous robots and stuff. Those would pop up right in real time and like tower 100 feet in the air over the stadium, and you would see them shoot and everything. That would be like Sanctuary in 10 years, right? Like, yeah, the whole like spectacle.
Like just like a coliseum with the actual game going on actually in the center of it.
Exactly. You have the two people playing actually there in like VR up there actually. Maybe even watching the map directly from up there. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's pretty amazing. But that's for like in 5-10 years. So let's talk again by then.
Yeah. All right, and then let's see. We've kind of covered on what other games you like, but
yeah, totally.
if you had to pick a game, what would be your favorite game ever?
What would be my favorite?
I would say pick one physical game and one like video game.
Okay. Gosh, that's difficult. I would like one physical game and like 3 video games. That's
not.
Easier.
I think that this question gets confused with like if you had only one game to play forever. Not that.
Right. Yeah,
just what is your favorite?
Right.
Just if you had to pick one, we're like, yes, I currently right now I like this one the most.
Okay. Well, for physical card games, I already said it. Basically, it's Magic. It's a card game. So yeah, I really do like Magic. I especially like getting with friends, just being able to play physically. So obviously, when we're speaking about Sanctuary, multiplayer is a very big aspect to me. AI as well, because I know a lot of people either can't or don't have maybe the energy to devote to playing online all the time, and so having AI in this game is something that's super fun and that you can spend hours on basically. So that's also an important part. But basically, where was I going? My favorite digital game. I'm gonna have to say that it's Warcraft 3, just for the amount of time I've spent on it, and for the amount of time I've spent, creating maps and games on it, and where it's brought me from there, like years and years ago, actually. Just the fact that they actually, 20 or 25 years. I don't remember what. I think it's 20 years ago or something that they released this with a editor, right, that could allow you to actually recreate the campaign they made for the game within the editor. Is such a bold move, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
actually so crazy. They actually built an engine, back then, and they didn't build and sell you a game. They built and sell you an engine.
Hmm.
That's how crazy it was, and that's how much it means to me, really. So I definitely have to say Warcraft 3. But close second is FAF. So
Is what?
close second is FAF, Forge Alliance Forever, or Subcom if you want.
Yeah. I would say I have a similar reasoning for what my favorite game would be. I would say Half-Life 2 and
Oh,
Half-Life
right,
1,
nice.
because both of them you get the Source engine, and that's where I learned how to make games. I learned in the Source
Yeah.
engine, and it's
Yeah, totally,
similar
I use that
reasons.
too.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, Source Engine was totally awesome as well. I agree. I actually still, I mean, it's not much, but I use Source Engine for making mods for Dota 2 actually recently. I think they're using Source 2 at the moment. So,
I think they're switching over. Yeah.
so yeah, it is something that's super awesome for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. That's totally nice, man. To know that we have like kind of a similar backstory. I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Let's see. We
okay,
got.
so that's for that. Yeah.
I think we got time for one more question. So
Let's go. Shoot it.
let's
I'm ready.
see. You have the list of ones that you sent earlier. Do you want to pick one?
Definitely. Yeah, sure. Let's see. Oh, let's finish with the wholesome run, right? Let's ask me like what I like about working on Sanctuary.
All right. What do you like? What's your favorite thing about working on Sanctuary?
Oh, what a good question. Surprising. Like I mentioned it earlier, right? But it's totally the theme. We have such amazing people here. We have like everyone has talent, smarts, looks, man. We look good, and and yeah, everyone is super amazing to work with, friendly. There's such a nice work culture in here where we're motivated, driven, and also, I guess, consider ourselves more like family, right? First, before coworkers, and that's something that's really just amazing. Like the first moment, right, that Tatsu and Nine started talking with me and everything, and we hit it off, right, and started meeting with other people in the team, right. It's such an amazing experience. Such amazing people that I will regard with like respect and love for the rest of my life for sure. So it's been such an experience, and of course the new challenges every day, the various different things, tasks to go on. It's been such an experience, right? But I think first and foremost, I'd say that really the best part about working on Sanctuary is definitely the team that we've got going on. I think Tatsu and Nine have been just doing an amazing job going around, and actually getting people in this team and everything, right? And I mean, I just recently met you, too, as well. We just made it in, so that's super awesome. And yeah, so that's basically my answer. Is like everyone in the team, right? That's first and foremost.
That's a good way to end it, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'm really glad to be a part of this team too.
Not scripted at all.
Yeah, no.
No script.
Not at all. What are you talking about? No, but I'm really glad to be a part of this team, and I can't wait to see where everything goes. And
yeah, I hope you guys can't wait as well, because we have a million things in stock for you. Stay tuned, guys. There's like, this is gonna be amazing. This is gonna be an adventure for sure.
Absolutely. All right. So I think that is it for this interview. Do you have any closing thoughts?
Not really. I think I talked myself out, to be honest.
All right.
I went on. I think I've been rambling a bit too much. So
no, it's fine. This is the interview with the developers. This is your time to ramble.
Perfect. Yeah, my time to shine. Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for thanking me. I can't. I'm not used to it.
Thank you everyone for listening as well.
Yes.
And stay tuned for more updates and everything for sure around Sanctuary. Very exciting times for sure. To be a fan of like large scale RTS, definitely.
Yeah.
And thank you, Max, for the interview.
No problem. All right. We will see you all in the next interview.
See you all.
Bye.